I'm Nick Knave, and this is my inaugural video review of the live-action films of Walt Disney. Couple of rules that I'm going in with this. No animation involved with the exception of the credits, so that is going to leave out stuff like Mary Poppins, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Song of the South. There are many, many reasons to avoid Song of the South. Instead, we will be starting in 1950 with Walt Disney's Treasure Island, based on the classic Robert Louis Stevenson book. The first thing that we see on the screen is that this Walt Disney film is not, in fact, a Walt Disney film. It is, in fact, an RKO radio picture. RKO being one of the major heavy-hitting studios back in the early days of Hollywood. Disney had teamed up with them to produce in England, as there were a bunch of like post-war grants or money available. We are in Treasure Island, and the first thing we see is a mast and the flags flying up, and we got the title. And Bobby Driscoll is the who plays Jim Hawkins. He was one of Disney's favorites, a cycle that would like repeat through the years, where he would kind of get fixated on one young actor and kind of use him up. And I'm not gonna. Anyway, so that's our boy though, Jim Hawkins, and we meet Jim alone in the Admiral Benbow, which is, as we discover, a tavern that his mom runs.
Where is your mother?
In the town.
We never meet his mom. In fact, we never meet any women in this movie. In the book, there is Jim's mom, there's a lady of some type, like a countess type, and she's not in the book, but she's mentioned, Long John Silver's wife. And in here, none of these people exist. Sausage party, sorry ladies.
No day, we might see some octopuses. No day.
Jim is working at this bar, and this dude comes in, the Black Dog, and he comes in with a big gnarly scar across his face, and he asks for a double rum. Jim gives him the rum, and the guy starts asking questions, and Jim's like playing it pretty savvy, you know. The guy's like, yeah, you know pirates, you know any sailors? And
Not many come out so far, sir.
even though our tavern is called the Admiral Benbow, and we live in a fishing village, but nope, sailors, no sir. And the guy's like, yeah, what about, you know, Billy Bones? Yeah, no, not ringing any bells at all.
Do you know each other?
No!
Then old, Scarface, he's like, he happens to see a WB on a trunk. That's Captain William Bones, and that's all Black Dog needs to see. So he goes hustling out. I want to take this moment to talk about something. Anyone that knows me will tell you that I do not need realism in my films at all. And in fact, I prefer it when things kind of look fakey. And this delivers in a big way. These scenes where you can kind of see the sun setting and it getting dark around the tavern, and you can see like the water glinting in the background, and it's obviously fake. Like, it's obviously, in fact, I almost feel like they probably used some of this modeling technique for rides 4 or 5 years later when they would open up the first park, but that's all speculation. The other pirate, this Bones guy, comes back down, and he's like, who was that? Was it a guy with one leg? And Jim's like, nah, but he was ugly. I forgot to add in the part where after the kid says, yeah, no, but he sure is ugly, basically, it was the dude with the scar, Billy Bones is like, oh man, wherever the scar dude is, one leg dude, it cannot be far behind. So my plan is to drink myself stupid or possibly to death.
Gotta get my strength back, Jim.
Tried to make me go to rehab. I said no.
Our boy Jim is very reasonably upset by this and decides that he's going to go for like the cops and the doctor because, I mean, I get it. You don't want a dead old man on your hands. Back to the original video. The kid gets like a yard. He like literally leaves his house, and yet another pirate like snags him and drags him in and is like, I know he's in there, bro. And this guy's blind. Take me to this pirate. And he does. And the guy gives him
The black spot.
the black spot. Is something that pirates give to one another when they're like basically like calling them out. You're not our leader anymore. We're taking over. We're taking what's ours. And apparently what they feel is theirs is a treasure map that Billy Bones now has from Captain Flint. And this map is the map to the titular Treasure Island. Ta-da! So Billy Bones is like, I gotta get drunk and die. He gives Jim the map. He's like, that way, if they come back, they won't find it on me. Not apparently caring that it means they would find it on him and essentially beat him to death. But Jim goes into town and he gets the doctor and the local squire and a couple of their like employees, I guess. Redruff and I'll call him Tim because I don't remember. They interrupt the pirates ransacking the place. There's like this whole crew of pirates. They're going through and they all run out. Men are like after them, but they don't get anybody. They're like, well, what could this have been about? And Jim is instantly like, oh, I guess I can tell you. Like,
I wonder what those rascals wanted of him.
I think I can tell you, Squire Trelawney. Now he's dead, I can.
there's blood on your mother's counter, and you're like, yeah, here, whatever, I don't care. Not only do they just like take the map from this kid, but he's like, can I go? And they're like, yeah, why not? The doctor is like, well, I don't know if it's proper, but Trelawney's like, he'll be a cabin boy. It's great. It's perfect. It's perfect. So cut to the next day, and they are down at the docks, and they are scouting ships to use this map to find Captain Flint's treasure. 700,000 pounds, in fact. So that's, I don't know, I'm not going to bother to do the inflation on that, but it's a lot of money. Even now, if I found like a box full of 700,000 pounds, I'd be pretty chuffed. It's like really cute scene where Jim sees the way like sailors are walking, and so he starts like aping them because he wants to fit in. It's cute. It's like little kid cute. And the only person that this squire guy has managed to hire for this voyage is like a captain, a boat, and a cook.
All the credentials I needed was a taste of his ham and his buttered eggs.
The place is infested with like skeevy ass pirates, and that is where we meet Long John Silver.
Top of the morning, gentlemen.
If you'll recall, the guy that died at the inn was asking if one of the pirates had one leg. And guess who has one leg? The cook. Jim, despite clocking this, like immediately, is just like, oh, okay, well, you know, whatever. He indicates nothing to anybody. He's just kind of like, uh-oh, it's that guy that specifically I was told not to give the map to, yet...
Long John Silver, portrayed by that world-famous star, Robert Newton.
A little bit of Robert Newton history. He was like a hard-living, hard-drinking guy. Geezer. He was a real geezer. Keith Moon and Oliver Reed, two of the hardest drinking, hardest living British people in existence ever in the history of the Crown, both cited this guy as like lifestyle influences. You know, he was like the real deal. He ended up being playing this role pretty much for the rest of his life, honestly. And everything that we know about the way pirates talk can pretty much be traced like directly back to old Bob Newton and his playing up his actual accent.
Lord love you, lad. Didn't you know that them that sailed with Admiral Ark had no speaking acquaintance with pirates? Listen, they boarded us.
this West Cornish accent. So pirates would have all kinds of ways of talking because they came from all over the world, so there really wouldn't be one like language. But it took him, 3 minutes in a Walt Disney movie and pretty much codified that entire talk like a pirate, yar, yar. And he's amazing, and he sells it, and he completely sells it. Now this scene too, in the inn where Long John is conning the squire and the doctor to hire on as like scallywag friends, modern captains hire for the cut of the jib and not the heart, my boys might be scarred, but they've only done it in the service of the crown. And of course, Trelawney's, very wonderful, just do it. He gets left. left by the squire and the doctor with Long John Silver. And they're like, yeah, help him clean up. We're going to go, do stuff. And so while he's there, Jim realizes that Scarface from the night before is there too. And he's like, pirate, get him. And of course, all the pirates are like, what? And so Long John has to be like, go get him. This is where the first of this kind of issue starts to come up for me, where this cast is pretty much a bunch of like thin white men in similar outfits and like hairstyle, and they're all wearing makeup to make them look like tanner because they're all supposed to be like sailors out on the ocean. So this is the point where I really started losing track of the adult men as soon as like they're alone. He's like, well, what's going on exactly, boy? Jim just spills everything to Long John. And then Long John like wins him over. He introduces him to his parrot, Captain Flint, who is a lady. I guess so. I'm wrong. There is one woman with lines in this movie, and it is a parrot named Captain Flint. So my apologies on that, women. You have the ship. It's the Hispaniola. The captain is not happy about these like slimy guys being hired. They have a first mate whose name is Arrow, Mr. Arrow. Everybody seems to know Mr. Arrow. Also, where we meet George Green he's like the Scott Evil of this operation. Like the minute they're on the boat, he's like, let's just kill them all and like take the boat.
We'll shoot them together. It'll be fun. Bang! Dead. Done.
And Long John has to constantly be like, would you just... like, I have this under control. But George is also the one that causes the first issue with Mr. Arrow. He has all this contraband. So, already we've established that we have the captain who's not pleased about the entirety of the situation. He also mentions that everybody knows in town that they're going treasure hunting. Like, everybody knows. And it's sort of implied that it's because Squire Trawlayney can't keep his mouth shut in public. Trawlayney is at odds with the captain. The captain is not pleased with Trawlayney. The doctor has to like kind of booze them both up a little. There's some kind of history between Arrow and the pirate crew, and Long John is playing everybody, including making sure that he had snuck his own pistol on board through Jim. I guess I forgot to mention that earlier in the film. Long John like gives him this pistol, and then when the other guy gets in trouble for it, he's like,
I'll have to turn mine in too.
he's like, oh no, don't, keep that. We're gonna need that. You got to know when to disobey orders. You got to know when to keep. You don't drink rum. You're not into fighting. Like, you're the guy that we need to have that gun because you're the guy with the level head. Of course, Jim just like laps this up, and it's like, right, sure. Smart as paint he is. That was a line I particularly like. So that's my dog back there. I don't know if she's my first mate. Yo ho, Carla. Yo ho. Arr. Sorry, you go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt her. I thought I'd introduce her. Now we're off. We're off to sea, finally. We've got this crew. There's a little bit of tension, but things generally seem to be going well. I want to emphasize how much I love the matte work and the model work in this movie. It is an adventure tale. And so not filming on location and keeping it a little more like magical and fakey really, again, adds to this. Just really fantastic, gorgeous silhouetting, the ship getting ready and the sails going up. Part of the issue that had been going on before was between Arrow and the crew, particularly George and Long John. There's a night where there's this huge storm. Of course, Long John, being the cook, is like, well, good luck up there, I'm cooking. And he convinces Jim to go get him some rum so he can make a plum duff. I had to look up what a plum duff was. A type of boiled pudding made of suet and fruit. So he not only makes this suet pudding duff and coats it with rum, he also like leaves the bottle out. And so the guys, Mr. Arrow's getting all the pirates, all the sailors up and down the steps, and the water's crashing down. Long John's like, yeah, can you come here a minute? And the guy's like, all right. And Long John is like, oh, well, I made you this plum duff. Why don't you have a little, sit down for a second, have some dessert. And the dude is just like, yeah, okay. He immediately gets tanked. Like, he literally eats like a spoonful of the stuff, like gagged.
I am an alcoholic.
And he goes stumbling upstairs and gets washed offshore. So plan succeeds, right? The one kind of like the toughest obstacle to their mutiny plan, the pirates' mutiny plan, has been taken care of. We're halfway through the voyage and people are starting to get restless. There's a scene where the doctor, I think it's the doctor, but I actually don't know because the guy talks like a sailor, but he's not one of the pirate guys. But the doctor didn't want to go on the boat. He had no sailing experience. It definitely isn't the captain or Trawlayney. And there was no indication that Redruth had any kind of sailing experience. But whoever it is that he's talking to is like very knowledgeable.
Won't ever sight land again?
I think we will.
When?
Ooh, there are signs.
What signs?
Sailors' vapors, mostly.
I was like, oh, you know, at the end of the trip, that's when men start to get turned on each other. There's only hardtack and scrapple and hardtack. And Jim's like, and apples? And he's like, yeah, let's eat some apples. And Jim ends up having to climb into the apple barrel to get him because he's too short and to like reach down. And while he's in there, he overhears the plan for mutiny. Trawlayney has to like apologize to the captain.
I own myself an ass. You were right.
Okay, you're gonna have to like still hang out with him though. Like, we're just gonna continue to endanger you, Jim. You're our guy on the inside now, even though you're like 10. They finally get up to the island. They make it to the island, and they're just like, oh my god, great. So Jim, you go with Long John Silver to this island, and we're just gonna hang out here and like wait to see what happens. And as you can imagine, what happens is that there is an attempted mutiny led by George, even though it wasn't supposed to happen because George jumped the gun again. George. They lock everybody up in like the lower galleys. Our heroes. Now we have Trawlayney, the captain, Redruth, the other guy, and the doctor on the ship with the guns. They've got the other like 20 pirates, 15 pirates held, but there's still like 9 pirates with Long John Silver who have now taken Jim hostage. Jim like jumps out of the boat as soon as they touch ground and like runs off into the underbrush. And out of nowhere, this dude in pelts jumps out and scares the hell out of the audience and Jim. And it turns out that this guy is someone who had been marooned there by Captain Flint with the treasure 5 years ago. And his name is Ben Gunn. He basically is like, okay, follow me, Jim. And Jim being like, okay, well, this seems like the less terrible option. So he, sure enough, follows Ben Gunn. And that's when he gets Long John Silver's backstory. And that's where we discover that Long John Silver had actually been on Captain Flint's boat. He was his quartermaster, his navigator, and his like head of helm op. How the map really came to like come into the possession of Billy Bones, and is also like, oh, there's this fort that the pirates built when they were there. That's where we're gonna go. Well, that's where your captain's gonna head when they come looking for you. They're gonna go right to that fort. Let's go meet them. Captain, the doctor, and the squire are coming to the island to rescue Jim. The pirates take over the pirate ship. They kill the guys that are left on guard. I believe that's Redruth and the other guy. They fly the Jolly Roger, and the Hispaniola been taken. It's no longer a British ship. It's now a pirate ship. So now we have Jim, Ben, Trawlayney, the doctor, and the captain. And they're all in the fort. Jim catches everybody up. Trawlayney's like,
Let them come by Jove.
we're gonna like get down to the war at hand with these pirates on this treasure island.
You'll find me ready once I've had my brandy.
Long John Silver shows up and is like, I'm willing to like make a deal with you. You guys surrender your ship and we'll leave you here with some food and we'll send the first ship we see to come rescue you. And then, of course, the captain's like, I'll take you to court and you'll have a fair trial in irons. And that, of course, does not go well.
Them that die will be the lucky ones.
There's a big fight. The pirates are attacking. Again, it's almost impossible to figure out who is shooting who and who's attacking who. George tries to shoot the captain, but Jim stops him. But then the captain ends up getting shot by Long John Silver. So now the captain is down and has, he's injured, and he's wiped out, and they're hidden in the fortress. They're barely fighting him off, and the pirates regroup, and so they start talking about
How many of them fell?
5 or 6 at least that I know of.
Better odds now. They won't drive us out of here in a hurry.
Oh no, actually there's a flood tide coming tomorrow.
Nothing's to hinder them bringing the ship close inshore. Once within cannon range, they could level this fort.
Zip right in tomorrow when it floods. So, we actually don't have much hope. Our fella that had been marooned here, Ben Gunn, he actually had built a longboat, a canoe of some type. So Jim steals that, goes back to the boat where the pirates are pretty much falling apart. They're arguing, they're wasted, they're fighting, and Jim's like, oh, well, actually, this is kind of great. I really don't have to do much. It seems like this problem's kind of taking care of itself. And sure enough, one gets beaten to death, and then the other one gets stabbed to death, and then the one that's left is like, oh, Jim. So there's this great fight scene, and he's chasing the kid up the rigging into the crow's nest. And I'll tell you, I did not think Disney was going to go ahead and stab this kid or shoot this man in the face, but you know what?
One more step, Mr. Hand, and I'll blow your brains out.
They stabbed the kid and they shot the dude in the face. It's super gnarly, it's super hardcore for 1950. There's even this very satisfying thud. It's so satisfying. I am a sucker for a dummy hitting a corner, believe me. We don't actually see the boat beach itself, but ostensibly it does because it's there. I'm assuming that doesn't magically happen as a rule, but again, it's Treasure Island, so it did. Jim flies the Union Jack. He takes down the pirate sail, and then he flies up the Union Jack. God bless the Queen. And Jim is getting delirious because he's, obviously he's been stabbed. But I assume that this Treasure Island is in the Caribbean. The kid is wearing wool through this whole movie, so he can't be comfortable. He gets all the way through the woods, gets back to the fortress, trying to get to the doctor, and he lays down next to who he thinks is the doctor. He's like, doctor, and oh, jump scare, it's Long John Silver.
Matey.
So Long John grabs the map, immediately, snags the map out of his shirt and tucks it in his own, and then, gets the other pirates going. And of course the pirates are like, kill him! Murder him now! And Long John's like, no, not the little matey. And that really cheeses off George. So pirates are like, fine, we're not going to kill the kid. Your little matey. We're not going to kill the kid, but we're going to have a meeting about you. It's pirate law.
Let's have a kiki. I want to have a kiki. Dive, turn, work.
And so they all go out, and Long John is like, I'm going to get you to a doctor, but then you're going to have to stay with me as my hostage until, I figure out how we're going to get back to this boat. They call the doctor over, and the whole time Jim thinks he has the map. Jim does not realize that the map has already been stolen from him. So in his mind, he thinks the only reason that Long John is keeping him alive is for the map. And Long John himself is actually offended. It's funny because throughout the whole movie, he's just like, arr, arr, arr. But then when Jim says, you're only keeping me alive for this map, Long John's like, oh yeah, right here, mofo. Yeah, it's great. And he's like, oh yeah, Long John wouldn't do that. Oh no, he's not human. He doesn't have a heart. And it's just like, wow, you big softy, Long John. I didn't know. The doctor is like, okay, Jim, you're just gonna have to stay with them, I guess. Be their hostage. Again, The adults in this film the poor kid is passed around like salad tongs. Like it's wild to me how quickly they're like,
Good luck, Jim.
continually. But off he goes again. And so in the interim, though, the other pirates have called out Long John with the black spot. And if you recall, the black spot, it was what was given to old Billy Bones in the beginning, meaning that his crew was turning on him. So Long John, it like basically calls their bluff.
Hey, Thunder, I resign. Elect anyone you please to be your captain. I've done with it.
You can take your job and shove it.
Really like Long John Silver. It's hard not to really appreciate this guy's riz. Like he just knows how to handle himself. They're like, oh no, Long John, you're the only one for us. Take us back. And so he's like, all right, but that's it. No more of your shenanigans. The pirates go off and they are hunting for the treasure. Now we're in the full treasure hunt mode. They've got the map, they've got the boy. They're wandering around. They find like skeletons stretched out, pointing the direction. It's all trees with that look like hands. Very classic piratey stuff. And they're wandering around, and of course, unbeknownst to them, our heroes, characters, Trawlayney and the captain and Redruth, who, despite I thought being killed like multiple times at this point, is apparently still there. But that just ties into my inability to tell white men in self-bronzer apart. Anyway, they finally get to the location. And they start digging, and they start digging, and they start digging, and it's not there. Nothing's there. They find one gold coin. And Long John's like,
Hardly worth dividing, is it, George?
right, guys? Am I right? And they're just like, yeah, die. So they all pull their guns, and they're going to shoot Jim and Long John when all of a sudden shots ring out. And Squire Trawlayney and the captain and everybody come over and save Long John, who then proceeds to blow away the other 4 pirates. George is dead. All the pirates on the island are dead. Just Long John and an empty box. And so they're like, well, what happened to it? And out pops Ben Gunn, our boy Ben. And he says, oh, you know what? I actually took that. I'll take you to it. And they go to his like cave. Long John is losing it. It's like the coins are being reflected on his face, and he's like, oh, yeah, money. And the captain's like, you're going to prison forever. And both the doctor and Jim and the captain were like, no, he saved Jim's life, or not the squire. And the captain's like, yeah, well, you can testify for him in court. See you in London. And Long John has this like heart-to-heart with Jim where he like tries to give her cat and flint because birds can't be in prisons, boy. And he's like, no, I can't. He's like, all right, she should be free anyway. And they're rowing out. And all of a sudden, Long John reaches over and pulls the gun out that Jim has been smuggling for him the entire movie, that he set up in like the third scene, the first act, pulls out the gun, forces everyone but Jim off the rowboat, makes him row him out to like the edge where Jim like tries to beach the boat, and he gets out and he's like, I'll not take any more orders from you. And then Long John's like, oh, you're a good boy after all, I'm not gonna kill you. And then Jim's like, well, okay, I will help you escape. And they shove him off, and he rides off into the sunset, and the sail goes up, and it's very hard.
I could almost find it in my heart to hope he makes it.
To not like the guy. You just want him to succeed. Like, he's a murderous killer pirate, but you know what? He's a fun guy.
Goodbye, matey. Good luck, Dewey.
So as for the movie itself, the lack of accents on display was a little confusing, I guess. And I do feel like some of what I saw suffered from seeing it on digital. That being said, it is a tight little 90-minute movie. It has a lot of action. It's got a lot of fun. It's like intense. There's definitely some like intense scenes. And nothing is presented in a way that you would find objectionable, unless you are one of those people that's like, no, I need complete historical accuracy. But I wouldn't watch a movie with people like that. I don't think I have a rating system for this yet. Maybe by the time I get to 1957 or 8, I'll have some kind of reviewer rating system actually worked out. Disney and pirates, they go together. They have a long history together. It's much of what we consider pirate lore and stuff come directly from that company.
Quite an angry-looking fellow.
Well, he has to be a tough guy. The pirates were pretty tough.
So it was very interesting to see their sort of earliest iteration of this. Hopefully you liked this little excursion to Treasure Island, and if you did, let me know. If you didn't, let me know. Let me know. You're gonna anyway, I'm sure. You know, I know you people out there.